everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
And over the, I think started in 2020, the phenomenon of Wordle began.
Yes.
Oh.
And I know this because for a while, everyone was sharing their scores with me. They thought I cared about that.
That was a thing.
I did not.
Post. It was the post for Facebook. Like, had to do it.
I really wanted to click a button that said, I don't care if you got it on the second or third try.
Right. Yeah.
But people were doing it, and I get it. It's a very popular game, and it's still popular. People aren't posting it on Facebook as much, but people still like it. My kids play it almost every day.
I'm a daily Wordler.
Are you?
Oh,
I still am.
Is that the
Wow.
phrase?
It's my phrase.
The Wordler.
I'm the Wordler.
Well, we mentioned this because today we're talking about a game called Fiction, which might remind you of Wordle. It also says in the back, a Wordle-inspired game of deception.
I'm glad they put that because it's clearly inspired
It's
by
very,
Wordle.
yeah.
Yes.
Sure. And so this, though, you have 10 guesses, which seems really easy. But there's lying involved. Let me show you. In this game, one person is going to be the librarian, and everyone else is going to be trying to guess a word from that person. Now, you don't have to think up a word. There's a bunch of cards here from classic books. Like here's Little Women with a passage here. And you'll notice that there's a bunch of words here that are highlighted in yellow and red. So in the base game, you would just use yellow because red words have a repeating letter in them. A yellow word does not have any repeating. And there's just some minor rule changes, but it is trickier to guess a word when it might have two letters in it. But maybe we'll pick this one here, so we'll use the word pinch. All right, so that person is going to write the word up here, pinch. Now, everyone else is going to have 10 guesses or 20 minutes to guess what this word is. You can use the box lid here. We use both of them to kind of keep it hidden from everybody else. Now, all the other players are going to have 5 of these boards for round 1 and a 10-minute timer that's going to be going off. And they're going to guess a word. So maybe the word that they will guess here will be horse. All right, so they're going to then guess that. Now, as soon as you guess a word, the timer will be paused, and that word is given to the librarian. The librarian is going to write that word here. So, horse. And then they're going to check each letter with the word above. So there's an H there. That's a correct letter, but in the wrong spot. So we put one of these lines here. And then we just an X for all the other letters because they're not in the word. Now, these are the clues, but you're going to give everyone different clues. So maybe I'll say the H is there. There's no O, there's no R, but there's definitely an S. The librarian must lie about one of the clues. So these are the clues that they're giving to everybody. You're going to put these tokens here. So H. So you're getting this word back to everybody else. The timer will start up again. And they now are looking at this. So they see that the O, R, and the E are not in the word. They're saying the S is in the word and it's in that spot. The H is in the word, but it's in the wrong spot. Everyone knows that the librarian has lied about a clue. They must lie about a clue. That clue could be any lie. They could have said there's no H. They could have said that there's no O, but they could have said it's the right letter, but in the wrong spot. Now, 3 times a game, each player can ask, as a group, you can say, we want to know about this R. Is it fact or fiction? And then the librarian has to tell you that is a true statement. There is no R in the world, which would be great because everyone has this thing here. We can say there's no R. This is where you're trying to guess the overall word. You can cross off letters and use this thing. Well, then we guess another one, and you're just going to keep guessing. If 10 minutes runs out at any point, or all 5 clues have been used, we go to round 2. So the 10 minutes might run out first, so you might have less than 5 clues, and we keep going. And you're just trying to guess it before you run out of time or clues. There are ways to make the game harder. You can only give one of these for each half of the game. You can give the guessers only 8 minutes instead of 10. And you can have the librarian choose red words if they want to, which might have duplicate letters. Then you keep track of the first one or the second one being false or true. And that's how you play. All the pieces here are very small. You can see it's a very small box. Everything fits inside. I think it's safe to say that if you don't like Wordle, at all, like let's say you hate Wordle,
Yeah.
you probably aren't going to love the game.
I think this will not change your mind. Yeah, it is very. I mean, I'd say it's not only inspired by, it is very, very similar to it. It does have a nice twist to it, you know, with the lying and such, but it is 85% Wordle.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's 70% Wordle, and that's such a big. But no, but I think the lying makes a big deal because the logic of guessing where the person lied is something completely different. There's a reason there's 10 guesses instead of 5.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. No, I guess what I was agreeing with is more that if you don't like Wordle, you would not like this. As far as the percentage of what this is, it's hard to say, but I do think that the element of human versus human does add something, because you do oftentimes want to kind of, you know, I found myself kind of using some shorthand. That was the way I would think if I'm a guesser. I'll just to be clear, if I'm playing on the guessing side, oftentimes I find myself attributing to whoever is the clue giver my mannerisms, which is not always the right way to go about it. I find myself falling into that habit. Well, if I was doing this is the letter I would lie on. So that part I actually like, is kind of trying to see how you line up with that.
Oh, sorry. Which is an interesting dynamic, because I think that this is a game that you can get better at.
Yeah.
As well as it can be harder depending on who you're playing against and how good they are as well as how well do you know them and how they think. You know, there's a couple different aspects that this game grows.
It really matters. If you've ever got back in the day, there was a game, very popular game called Mastermind.
Yes.
Which is the basis of Wordle, actually. Mastermind, a bunch of colors. The person who ran Mastermind just picked a set, and then they were just there.
Right.
They'd be like, yes, no, whatever. There's no reason. You can replace them with a computer, and in fact,
It has been.
It has been done.
Many times.
Right. This is not that way. You have to pick. It's not like you have a ton of decisions, but you have to pick where you lie carefully, because if you lie, if you're not careful how you lie, you can give way too much information to the guessers.
Absolutely, which is interesting because it makes that choice of where to lie and how to lie, it really gamifies it. You know what I mean? And the people that are guessing, some of the answers they put down, it might just be like, they might not be saying, ooh, I think it's this word. That word they put down might not be possible based on information they verified as facts. But what they're doing is trying to corner you to find out where you lied, which leads to, if that was a lie, this is true, which means this. Now I'll guess a word I think it is. You know, so it really kind of, it's a really interesting mechanism, as it forces a different perspective on what words you're guessing.
Yeah, when you said that you get better at this game, one thing I've definitely noticed is that for the guessers, that certain strategies, you know, I try to employ. If I'm a guesser, again, I try to employ. I want them to I want to put as much pressure as I can on the clue giver to be consistent in their lies. You know what I mean? And so there is an element of kind of strategy to it that I wouldn't have thought when you described the game to me. I thought it would be just kind of like a, you know, hey, do your best, do a little deduction. But I do think that there's strategy on both sides, the clue giver and the clue.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the roles would be called. The one in
The librarian.
The librarian and the others.
Theme.
Yeah.
There's a theme.
There are some interesting strategic decisions to make that wouldn't necessarily be apparent the first time you play it.
Speaking of theme, that's cool that they have all those pages from different books.
Yeah, it's cute.
Very cool.
But I played this once with my kids, and they got way too caught up, and well, that word would never show up in The Wizard of Oz. I was like, you need to get that out of your head.
We're getting this from Moby Dick. Whale!
Yeah, it's not whale.
Not whale.
Or water, or hook, or...
Right, yeah.
I mean, it could be, I suppose,
Sure.
but also whale might be in Little Women.
That's
Right.
true.
You know,
right.
I just find that to be interesting. One thing, there's one issue I have with this game, and that says it's 2 to 8 plus players. Also, it says 20 minutes, which is not quite true.
No.
It could be a little longer than 20 minutes, depending on how long the librarian takes to write their stuff down. But I don't know. 2 players is very different. It's very quiet.
Yeah.
You're just sitting there. I don't know that I like it as much with 2.
Yeah.
With 3 and 4, it's good. Once you get to 5 and 6, there's too many people guessing, and also at that point, for the librarian, you're like, well, why am I even trying?
Right,
because
right.
someone here is
Right.
going to think of the word.
I feel like if you're playing it at 8, you might as well play it at 20. It's going to be the same chaotic mess where nothing is getting done.
Unless everyone was guessing on their own and you work with teams. But
I suppose.
as it is, I really like this with 3 or 4. I could see 5, not even.
Maybe.
It depends. You had a party.
Yeah.
And maybe this was good for someone who's like, I'm not really good at word games. Well, then you be on the team of
Sure,
guessers.
that's true.
Right,
and you
yeah.
work with them, and it feels more.
It's interesting you mentioned like party though. Do you think this is a party game? Because I don't.
It's party-esque.
Yeah, I think of it more
It's
as
party-esque in the same way Codenames is.
I suppose so. Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, under the technical definition of a party game, it probably fits, but it doesn't feel like a party game to
Because
me.
it's not fun.
No, well, I guess you're burying the lead there. We'll find out what we all think about that. But it doesn't have that kind of that's I guess not what I think of as a party game.
I think so. It doesn't feel as light as a party game, and not light in the mechanisms, but light in the nature. You know what I mean? You're thinky, your
it's
head's
cerebral,
down.
like
Right.
Codenames. I guess you're right. It's like in the Codenames family of party games.
All right, well, what do you think of it?
I'm going to come in at a 6 for this game. I think it's fine. It's not, to be very clear, I am not the audience for this game. I don't know that I can sit here and pick apart the mechanisms of it. Wordle is very popular. A lot of people like that. Like we said before, if you like Wordle, this is probably very much for you. I am not that person. I don't like this. This did not change my thoughts on Wordle. I'm fine to sit down and play it. I thought being the clue giver was very stressful, you know, as I'm listening.
It is stressful.
And I'm listening to you guys talk and go over it and thinking this. I'm like, okay, well, if they end up asking that, then I'll do this. But if they do that, I'll do that. And so you're like, it's just on constantly, and then something completely different happens. You know, so it's very stressful. But then being the guesser also, like you said, with multiple people on the guessing team, just the conversation kind of gets away from you. You know, this or that or da-da-da, and it's just so many thoughts because, again, everyone's just processing so quickly or just so much, I should say, not even quickly, just so much information at once. And it has that timing element, so you can't just sit down and really think it out. So for me, it didn't change my mind on Wordle. Fine. It's a 6. Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
I'm a daily Wordler. I like it. I'm giving it an 8. I like word games in general. I like that this is a word game that feels different than other word games that I can think of. That aspect of being able to, you know, have to use a little bit of deduction. The fact that the librarian has to lie. That's my favorite part of the game. Is honestly trying to corner. Yeah, I'll just say that I will always prefer being the guesser than the librarian.
I
Yeah.
like both.
Because I don't know, and this is something I was going to bring up, is that this is a game that does have a little bit, fragile is too strong of a word for it, but you can wreck a game. If you are the librarian and you don't follow that structure to a T, it will wreck, you know, that
But
one
they have
session.
it there. You're supposed, and I didn't tell you this when you just ran it. You're supposed to circle the lie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I did that.
Okay.
I didn't know it was in the rules, but I was like,
It
I
is in the
need to
rules.
see
Yeah.
this. Hold on,
There
I'm going to do this.
There are, you know, ways
If you
to do
double
it.
check, you're
Yeah.
probably fine.
Yeah.
But definitely, and when I was the first time I played a little quickly, and I was like, oh, I got to be careful not to mess it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Right.
But no, I like the game a lot. I again, an 8. I think this is a word game I'd always be happy to play.
I'm even stronger than that. This is an 8.5 for me.
Ooh, all
I
right.
really like this. It worked well, and I played in multiple situations. My family all loves Wordle, and I like Wordle fine, but I love logic. I like Wordle because it contains logic. This has more logic than Wordle.
Yeah.
Because of the lie, and you have to try to figure out when's the best time to do fact or fiction.
Right.
I will say I think that it's definitely tilted towards the guessers, especially. I would play almost always, especially if you're playing with 3 or more people, I would play with the 8-minute time limit.
Sure, I
For
think
sure.
that's
Just to put that
Okay.
pressure on them so they can't sit there forever and throw out words.
And does that make it 4 and 4 or 5 and 3?
No, it's still 8 and 8. Each half is 10 minutes in the
Oh, each
original
half.
game.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
each half was 5 to begin with. Okay, never mind then.
It felt
Okay.
like an hour, probably. But I really think it's fun. It's super interesting. That guessing, you said you like guessing. I like guessing and the clue. I like them both. And it's a lot. I think this one's going to do really well, actually, I think. Because I think
I can
people
see
who
that.
like Wordle are going to be on point with this. And maybe people who thought Wordle was a little too... It's a solitaire activity, right?
Sure.
This is no longer that way. It brings it out.
Yeah,
so.
if you want Wordle Plus.
That's true.
That's what
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there you go. So that's fiction, folks. Check it out. I'm Tom Vessel.
I'm Mike Delicio.
I'm Camilla Cleghorn.
One of those was a lie.
Fact.